Committee to order. A couple of things. We're running about 30 minutes late on our schedule. We have another meeting in this room at 2:15. We will run up to right before 2:15. We'll get as much done as we possibly can, and we'll move as expediently as possible and still give due consideration to the buildings to the bills under consideration. Just for clarification, we will have to have all of our bills out of committee to be heard, and they'll have to be reported to the Secretary of the Senate's office prior to going into session on Monday, but we don't go into session until 1 o'clock. We do have a meeting scheduled for 9 o'clock Monday morning. That was the best time that we could get. The other ones were taken, so we will meet again Monday morning at 9 o'clock, but the Senate will not go into session until 1. That's just kind of a housekeeping issue, so everyone will know. I'm sure we will not get to all of the bills today, but that being said, I'd like to go ahead and get started. I want to give ample time to everyone who has bills before us, and that being said, I want to call on Senator Hickman to bring the invocation.
Let us pray. Lord God, you've given us a wonderful day, Lord. You've given us another day that we can honor you. Lord, we just ask you to give us a guidance of wisdom in this higher education meeting, Lord. Help us to find ways that we can help Georgians, Lord, and by helping them, we'll honor you. Please be with us as we deliberate. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
I want to call on Senator Strickland. If you would present Senate Bill 107, and let's make sure we're all on the same page on the LC number. I'm working off of LC 490-418S. Is that the one that you have?
Yes, sir. And you'll probably recall I briefly went over the bill last time we were here. The only difference in the substitute and the original bill, as I told you, is we removed the university system out of this, and you'll see on lines 22 through 30. As I mentioned, the state constitution prohibits us from providing tuition waivers for our universities, and so instead we left in the technical colleges. And in lines 22 through 30, that is the what I'll call it urging resolution, but urging in our code that the Board of Regents adopt a similar plan to help our foster care kids in our state, those that come out of foster care in our state, those that have been adopted, using our state assistance to make sure that we allow these individuals to take advantage and of the resources we have in our state and not let resources, financial resources, hold them back from becoming productive members of society. And so there's no other changes to the bill. I had a question last time, though, on some of the numbers. As of 2021, we have roughly 700 kids in foster care today. The average cost of tuition and fees for TC 700. TCSG average cost of tuition and fees for years is $3,044. So if you want to do some math and say 20% of these students of the current number of 700 take advantage of the program, that would cost $426,000.
If you would pull the mic closer, Senator.
Yes, sir. And so I think the rough cost, if 20% of the 700 kids today took advantage of the free tuition with the average cost, it would cost the state roughly $426,000. And if you wanted, with more time, you could dive into the statistics on these kids and the paths they go in life without more help. And obviously, setting aside the moral obligation we have to help these kids, setting that aside financially, it costs us more money when they are not able to go to school. And so I think it actually, while it may cost several $100,000, if we have 20% take advantage of it, I hope it costs us more than that. I hope more kids take advantage of it. I think for every dollar we spend there, obviously there's a savings you can't capture in a fiscal note when you're helping young people that didn't get the same advantage as most of us got growing up become really pull them up further in life and get an education and become productive members of society. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Senator Beach?
Yeah, Senator Strickland, on lines 27, it says the General Assembly urges and recommends the Board of Regents adopt similar tuition waiver programs. Have you spoken to anybody, Chancellor Wrigley or anybody at the Board of Regents, to see how they feel about this bill, and would they be supportive of this?
No, in fairness, I have not. I do not know if someone from the Lieutenant Governor's office did. And again, in full disclosure, I'd like to give credit where credit's due. This idea came from the Lieutenant Governor directly. And so the original bill required them, allowed for the waivers as well for kids in our university system. And I did not get any feedback one way or another from the Board of Regents, but I have not directly spoken with them. I would hope that this will be, and I know you've worked on bills where you're trying to send messages to the Board of Regents yourself. And I think this obviously is about as strong as we can get. We can be unconstitutional and just require it, but to follow our Constitution, I think it's better to put this urging statement in there.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't want to, I want to follow the Constitution. That being said, we write them a $2.3 billion check, and we need to take care of these children. And, when they turn 18 in the foster care system, I think it's just critical between 18 and 22 that we help these folks get educated so they can be productive citizens to society. So whenever you're ready to entertain a motion, I'll make a motion.
I agree. Thank you.
Senator Hickman? Yes, sir.
Senator Strickland,
Yes, sir.
would you explain, and I just don't understand, explain on this, item 1D as in dog?
Item 1D, you said?
Yeah, the student is an adopted child. The 14th birthday deal is what I don't quite understand that.
So that's covering a child that is adopted out of the foster care system. And so while they no longer are by law a foster kid, if you are adopted, make sure I say this the right way, following their 14th birthday, you would still be considered someone that qualifies for this. And so if someone is adopted out before they're 14 out of the system, private by an individual taking them out of foster care, then they would not qualify for the free tuition.
They would not?
Correct, if it's prior to their 14th birthday.
And what's the magic on 14?
I think it's just trying to pick a way, because you have, when you're trying to balance the state resources you are going to spend, you've got to have some cutoff where obviously every story is going to be different, but you would think that someone that has been out of foster care longer has had at least more of a chance to get past, I don't want to say the stigma of it, but the circumstance that led to them being in foster care. And so why 14, I'm not sure, you could argue it should be 13 or 12 or 15 or 16, but at least that's somebody that at least for the last 4 years when they turn 18 was in the foster care system prior to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Senator Harrell?
That 700 number, are those the ones that are eligible for higher ed programs by age?
I don't know. Do you have better information? Do you mind if I call a Lifeline to make sure I'm getting the correct information versus me assuming?
Chairman Strickland said I can't step out of this blue box.
He's got to stay in the blue tape.
Oh, you're out, you're out.
Good afternoon, Tom Rollins, glad to be with y'all. 700 is the number of children, or excuse me, youth, ages 18 to 21 who are currently in our, independent living program. And just to clarify, the 14 age number, this is in line with federal requirements. So if you adopt a child after the age of 14, they are eligible for this independent living program. So this kind of lines up with the federal.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think he clears up the 700 number. He said in a better way is what that actually, who's covered under that.
Right, so the 700 are the ones who are currently eligible for ILP, so
Right.
to clarify that.
Thank you.
Senator Burns?
Senator Strickland, is it true that these students would qualify for HOPE grants at the technical college system, Jordan? Do they qualify?
Hope? Will they qualify for Hope?
If I may, they may, and in fact, they qualify for Pell. So
Yes.
we are anticipating that, for that reason, that this will not be that costly to the technical college system because of the other available grants. And certainly if they qualify for a HOPE grant, and Senator Burns, I can't remember we have certain ones that are free, like I think welding and such. And so certainly the rules apply. But we do want to encourage all those to take advantage of that and reduce that cost as much as possible.
Yeah, it is my understanding that this would be available when those other grants or other sources of support are not available. Is that correct?
Yes, it would supplement that. So if you look on line 68 and 69 of the bill, it confirms that first you're going to have a child or student, I keep calling them kids too, but a student apply for any other available funding, federal funding, any other assistance, and then, so we still will get those funds, and whatever's left of that is where the waiver will come into effect.
The waiver would come in for any additional costs, is that correct?
Correct.
I think the good thing is our technical college system of Georgia has a very robust support program, and most students completing a high school degree would have an opportunity to qualify for at least some of the grant support. Is that true?
I would think that'd be the case. And I mentioned the number, you got to think what it costs to go to university system. If the average cost is a little over $3,000, and that doesn't take into account the other resources available. So yes.
Does this support provide educational resources, books, software, ancillary? Is that a part of the bill?
I want to point you to exactly what it covers.
It says all tuition and fees, but fees are not necessarily textbooks. Although I realize textbooks are becoming a bit outdated, more likely it's going to be some form of electronic resource.
Director Stahl.
If I may, so recall also that we have these, so many of these young people that we're talking about who are in the independent living program also qualify for our federal Chafee independent living, educational training vouchers. And those, in fact, do cover such things as, to some extent, housing, books, other fees as well. So again, as Senator Strickland said, the waiver itself is sort of the payer of last resort here, and we do have these other resources that are available to support our youth.
Right.
And if you look on lines 35 and 36 of the bill, he gave me time to find it, is where we list out what is covered here as well, and it's meant to cover all the costs, that even housing, meal and room and board programs are mentioned on there too.
Again, I want to be clear. I'm very strongly supportive of this measure, okay? I'm just trying to make sure I understand exactly what is covered. And now to the issue of housing and room and board, TCSG, to my knowledge, has no campus residence capacity. Is that correct?
And
Senator?
if they do, this mentions has to be a board program, and so if there's not a board program, then no, right now there'd be nothing to pay, but if there is one, then.
They do have two units that have housing.
They do have 2 units that have housing?
That's
Thank
my
you.
understanding. I've not visited them, but it's my understanding they do.
North and South Georgia have dorms.
North and South Georgia Technical
Technical
College. Okay, have certain, good.
Those are the
I
two.
was not aware of that. That's a positive, because my concern is without housing, students might have a difficult time accessing education.
Sure,
Okay.
that's a good point.
Thank you, Senator.
We do have housing vouchers for these, for the youth who are in our extended foster care as well.
So could they take advantage of the vouchers
Cer-
and enjoy local housing as opposed to technical
Certainly,
college-sponsored housing?
that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
I will say this in terms of the age limit of 14. I've served on a children's home board for a long time. The older children get, typically, the harder it is for them to be adopted. And if you've got there's enough problems that come with having 14-year-olds anyway, just by the nature of teenage years. But this is not a financial burden that a parent would have to assume, or an adoptive parent, and it would, you know, I don't know that it would be an incentivization, but at least it would be a cost avoidance that they would be taking on. And typically, those kids that age are hard to place, and I think this is a good bill in that it addresses that, and also they're some of the highest risk children we have if you look at the statistics on them. If there's no further questions, I'll entertain. Senator O'Rourke, what number are you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support the bill wholeheartedly, and in fact, hope we'll get to the point where we're able to expand beyond children in foster care, getting needs-based help for post-secondary work, because I'll refer you to the Terry College of Business. The Seelig Center over there at Athens has got a comprehensive analysis of how the gross domestic product of our state grows with each person that obtains a bachelor's degree. And that, of course, would apply to, you know, getting trained for the workforce. And it's compelling. It makes the argument that we're investing, when you invest this money in young people for higher post-secondary education, it adds to the bottom line of the state's gross domestic product.
Okay.
Amazingly so, like each person, I think $2 million over a lifetime or something. But I'd recommend that. It's a good resource to use when you argue for the bill on the well, and I certainly applaud it. The one thing that occurred to me was, if you're adopting, and you adopt a 13-year-old, and you have to assume the college. You have to assume the cost of the college if you adopt a 13-year-old, but you adopt a 14-year-old and it's covered. So in an odd sort of way, it builds in a disincentive to adopting a 12 or a 13-year-old as opposed to a 14-year-old. But
We'll make a motion.
I'm already out of my depth on knowing about how all that works,
So am I.
Tom.
Senator, the good thing is, for those under 13, the median age of adoption is about 6. And because we have so many children who are parts of large sibling groups, who have a disability, or who are older, like 6 or 7, these families also receive adoption assistance. And you may also recall that there's another pending bill, I understand, that would increase the adoption credit, tax credit. So I feel that we do have other support systems for that. In fact, we spend about $100 million a year in adoption assistance for the families who have already adopted children out of our foster care system.
Thanks.
Senator Beach,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move do pass Senate Bill 107.
do I have a second? Senator Hofstadter, second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Appears the bill is passed unanimously. Thank you so much.
I don't regret calling you first in judiciary yesterday, Mr. Chairman. I saw what just happened.
Next bill we have before us is Senate Bill 97.
Thank you.
Let's see, where's that substitute? Senator Lester Tate, this is a bill we've discussed before that we are working off of LC 413002S. Is that correct, Senator Tate? Yes, Pardon? I understand, and I always get them confused. I want to call him Lester Tate.
Oh,
There was a Lester Tate, yeah.
Right,
He was over the state bar at one time.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. Our salaries are a little
Senator
different.
Jackson, thank you.
Our salaries are a little different, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I present to you substitute to Senate Bill 97. We're working off LC 413002S. Mr. Chairman, as you know, this is out-of-state tuition waiver. After much discussion, what this does is, for historical black colleges, it gives a tuition waiver from 2% to 4%. The original bill, the only difference from the original bill, it was from 2% to 10%. This puts it in line with the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Georgia State, who all give a waiver of 4% As you can look at your handout, Savannah State University actually takes advantage of this. It's allowed 70, a waiver of 70 students, and they have found 63 students out of the state to take advantage of this. What we found with Albany State University, Fort Valley State University, and Savannah State University, we have more than enough classrooms, more than enough dormitory space, but it's difficult to find quality students and to attend our colleges and universities in Georgia. It gives them the ability to go out, find the best and brightest, and bring them into Georgia to receive a quality education. And we find out that once a student comes to Georgia and gets a quality education, they tend to stay in Georgia. They tend to live in Georgia. They tend to become taxpayer citizens in Georgia. There was several requests to add amendments on it. Talking to the chairman of this great committee, he said 4% is, we can see how 4% works, and if this works really well, we can come back and look at other things next year. With that, Mr. Chairman.
I think Senator Jackson has done a great job on explaining this. I will say this, on your handout, you will see the 3 universities covered under this, and it's the handouts, HBCU waiver data requested. If you look in columns E and F, even as they are now, those offers are under their allotted 2%. You may ask the question, and I'll say this is not necessarily presidential waivers. This is a waiver of just out-state tuition. This is not a full scholarship, if you will. I'm going to be real clear. This waives out-of-state fees. The reason I think it's probably good policy, all 3 of these universities are under their capacities, and I think it may help build the student population in these universities and maybe encourage students to come in and fill out the facilities that we have, the capacities. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. Look forward to working with you, and as this bill progresses through the chambers.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. I apologize for misstating your name.
Oh, no, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Next bill we have for consideration today, LC 490443. We have a problem in the state of Georgia. I'll present the bill from here. We have an issue in the state of Georgia today that there is a gap in our system of dealing with those students who have dropped out of high school and been able to enroll in technical college, and they cannot enroll under the adult education program. They can enroll in technical colleges, but technical colleges right now can only grant GEDs. And I think that's substandard to the needs of our economy today. And I think high school diplomas are in reality an absolute minimum. What this bill seeks to do is to address the issue of granting the technical college system the ability to grant high school diplomas in accordance with the requirements of the State Board of Education. There's going to be 3 groups of people that are going to be beneficiaries of this. You're going to have some students in high school who have completed the academic coursework that's required under Senate Bill 2. But for whatever reason, they may be a misfit, an outcast. They may not just like high school, and they may be tempted to quit high school because they don't like the environment of high school. They know that they want to go to the technical college and get skills and training because a lot of them, for financial reasons, probably have to go to work. These kids, these students will be able, if they're 16 years old, they can if they have completed the coursework required in this bill, they can enroll directly in TCSG, and their relationship at the high school will be terminated. Now, This does not invalidate Senate Bill 2. There may be those students that want to go through this same type program under dual enrollment. They may want to play football. They may have a girlfriend at school they want to stay in high school with. All these things. This doesn't take away anything, but it gives those students who want to go to technical college when they're 16 years old and not have to further their high school education, the ability to go. To me, it's unfair to ask to tell a student, well, you've got to drop out before you can qualify to be admitted into technical colleges. So it's the first group is the 16-year-olds who want to go to technical college. The second piece is those students who are over 16 who have dropped out. In all likelihood, you're not going to get them back into high school to get a high school diploma because of the social issues that are involved. I mean, if it was a good fit, they probably would not have dropped out to start with. But they need training. We're dealing with these kids on the back end of it. Many of them are in prison. If you look at the prison population, 50% of them don't have high school diplomas. This bill opens the door to get these kids back into a one-stop shop at their technical college where they can meet the requirements of a high school diploma under the requirements of Senate Bill 2, or they could get full academic learning if they want it. And also they can get technical training at the same time. But under the provisions, this is not Senate Bill 2, but under the provisions and the mechanisms of Senate Bill 2, if they complete that technical education, they can also be awarded the high school diploma as well, which is much more marketable. The third piece that this brings back in is adult education. Those that are over 21, they can come back to the technical college now and get a GED along with technical training, but the technical college cannot award them a high school diploma. Again, this needs to be a one-stop shop where we build our workforce and make them more employable and make them of more value, primarily to themselves, but in a bigger picture to their employers and also to the society and the economy of the state of Georgia. This is a pilot program. It will last for 5 years. I've worked with the technical colleges. I've worked with DOE. We've talked with the Professional Standards Commission. I have talked to just about everybody that has anything to do with the mechanism of working this, try to get all the input we can. We're going to do it as a pilot program for 5 years. There's going to have to be some latitude. If we have to have any waivers, we can apply for late waivers. We've got some time to do that. And I would rather see it piloted on a small scale, get the bugs out of it, because I think it's going to grow. I think this is going to take care of many of those people that are falling through the cracks that ultimately is costing this state a huge amount of money. That's the bill as it is. If you have any particular questions on it, I'll be glad to answer them if I can. I'll say this. We had 47 signers in the Senate on this bill. I didn't have 9 people turn me down, but there was 9 of them I couldn't get a hold of that day. So it has widespread support, and I think it has a tremendous curb appeal to the public because many of them don't realize that we have this crack that the dropouts really cannot go to technical college and get a diploma. So that being said, I'll entertain any questions. Senator Orr.
I applaud your bill. I think you made a great case for it, Mr. Chair. When you say pilot, how big or how little, how much?
Up to 5 units.
5 units of the system?
Up to 5 units of technical college can participate in it. I think we're going to probably try it under different circumstances just to see the dynamics of how it works. I think we have 22 units in a technical college, so just shy of 25% of the units in technical college can participate. But technical college is on board. I want to say this. The bill was purposely designed that it would not become a dumping ground for problem kids in high school, because the kids that enroll have to meet the enrollment criteria for technical colleges. You can't just walk in and say, okay, you've got to take me. This is not mandatory attendance. But what it does, I think, is answer some of the issues that Senator Jackson has raised in the Education Committee about mandatory attendance to 17, and my concern about that all along is if we do the same thing, I don't know that we can expect any difference in the results. This is a different way to approach those students who do not want to be on a high school campus, but we can give them meaningful training, and many of these people can come out of technical colleges when they're 18 years old and make $50,000, $60,000 a year if they apply themselves in the areas of study that are offered to them in the state of Georgia. Any other questions? Senator Harrell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing this bill and all of the work you've done on it. I am so excited by it. It's a new old idea. There's actually this wonderful area in Clarkston, Georgia, where you have physically located together a high school, a community college, and a technical school. And I think it was the vision of those people who developed that, going way back to the 1960s, that students would be able to freely move from one area to the other as they needed to or they wanted to. And what I've come across more is silo thinking, where kids are stuck in one place or another. So I'm just so very excited about this concept and applaud you for the work you've done with it.
Thank you so much. Senator Byrne.
I join my colleagues in supporting this effort. I think it's a great step in the right direction. I just have one question. I anticipate this is going to be a very successful bill. And we start with 5 schools and we wait 5 years.
You don't have to wait 5 years.
That's what I wanted to hear.
The program is authorized to go 5 years.
Okay.
At any time the General Assembly wants to expand it beyond that, they're free to do that. We're not locked into 5 years. Originally, when the bill was drafted, we didn't have but 3 years, and I thought, well, it may take 3 years' time
Right.
to really get the data and the results back to see where you're moving the needle. But
Thank you for the clarification.
yes, sir.
I applaud that
It does
option.
not have to take 5 years. That's just like presenting a bill. You don't have to take 30 minutes to do that. I've said all I'm going to say. Any other questions?
Move to
I got a question and observation. The first question is.
Hang on, you're 14, right?
I'm sorry.
Can't see you now. Okay.
I got a question and observation. The first thing, the question is, these children will technically move laterally from high school over to technical college.
That's correct.
Okay.
And they'll carry their academic certification with them on what they have learned in terms of academic coursework that's accomplished.
Okay.
It will transfer over to them or with them.
Okay. There won't be any double funding, meaning the high schools will be funded for
No.
their education and
No.
the technical schools will be funded for their
No,
education.
it'll be this provides for a single enrollment.
Yeah.
So they won't be under the high school hierarchy or leadership or whatever. But now part of this is going to be, and this bill mandates a pretty extensive conference that has to take place because the requirements and the way technical colleges operate are entirely different than high school. And so, they'll be entering under the discipline system of the college. And so where in high school it's hard to put people off the campus that don't really want to be there and are causing problems. In technical college, they can do that. So the discipline will be maintained. This I assured the people in technical colleges, this is not trying to put an undue operational burden on them to achieve some kind of great philosophical goal. This is just about educating people that need and want an education and knocking down the barriers and make that happen. Go ahead.
And the observation I'd make is that, we all live in a world of stigmas, and we all live in a world of being identified by certain things. And my wife taught at Ageisha Technical College for 10 years, and she'll tell you real quick, she taught high school dropouts. And that's a stigma situation. So again, Senator, I applaud you for trying to eliminate this term high school dropouts. Of course, she did a great job, and she'd go everywhere in town, and people would come up to her and thank her for it. But the high school dropout is a big stigma thing, and I think this bill will help eliminate some of that term high school dropout.
Thank you very much. I think I had a do-pass move. Senator Byrne, who was the second? Senator Strickland had a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, bill passes unanimously. Thank you so much. The last bill we have before us today is Senate Bill 187. This is a bill that I bring to your attention. If y'all will recover or will recall, in 2019, I think we changed the length of time that a student under the Hope Scholarship, at that time, there was a 7-year limitation for them to exercise their time to take advantage of the Hope Scholarship. We extended that to 10 years. The people who were caught after 2011, basically those who were in school after 2011, they were limited to 7 years. This bill is very specific for those people who have disabilities of some type, either disabilities they were born with, or maybe traumatic brain injury in which they could not take a full load and could not complete their coursework within 7 years. This bill extends for those people that will be granted through an individual waiver on an individual basis. We'll give them up to 10 years to complete it. This does not extend the number of hours that they can take. There's no additional financial burden on the state, but this does extend the time frame for those who have an approved problem that they legitimately need more than 7 years. And it may be that some of them were injured in that 7 years and had to punch pause on it. This will be approved individually by the Georgia Student Finance Commission. I served on that board for a long time, and they had waivers at that time on different issues. And this is not going to be a bill that says if you've got a hangnail, you get 10 years. They're going to have legitimate issue. This extends for the very small group of people, those who need the time. That's all the bill does. Any questions on the bill? If there are no questions, Senator Beach?
Move to pass Senate Bill 187.
Senator Orrick and Senator Hufstede will have joint seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Bill passes unanimously. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time that y'all put in this and the attention. I'm glad to get through these bills. I look forward to seeing you Monday morning at 9 o'clock. We'll have some more bills before us at that time. Pardon? We're 6 minutes ahead of the next people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Pardon?
I'm on the next meeting in the